Philadelphia. I come from Iowa. Work with Horsch as the product manager on the planter product line. Pleased to be with you here today. As Ty mentioned, got in last night from Manitoba. Had a few planter clinics up there to get through here this week. So maybe might be a little high in my time here this morning. Kind of burning the midnight oil a little bit, but we'll try to keep this lively, keep this fresh, and have a nice conversation here this morning. A couple of introductions from the Horsch side. I guess first and foremost, as Horsch customers, thank you very much for your business. Thank you for your confidence, your support, and your enthusiasm for running Horsch equipment. We very much appreciate that and want to be with you in your operations, and look forward to tackling this upcoming growing season. So thank you for being Horsch customers and Horsch owners. On the Horsch side of things here, there's a couple of people in the room I'd like to recognize. Seth Edwards in the back is our territory manager covering Indiana. He hails from Crawfordsville, so he's a great local resource and takes good care of you guys here in Indiana. Tracy picked him up. Tracy may have stepped out. He's our service and support product specialist rep here for the region as well. So on the technical side of things, these are machines. We use them, and occasionally they break, and they do. We want to be there for you, and Tracy's here to troubleshoot those issues that you might have. Still sounding okay? All right. So just a little bit of background. I'll take a few minutes here to walk through really the evolution of the Maestro, the planters that you have in your shed, the planters you're looking at here on the showroom floor, really how this design came to be, and some of the different advantages of these planters. There's no question, when you look at a Horsch planter, it looks a little different than the others on the market. You look at the other planter bars out there, whether they're front running wheels or rear running wheels, they all kind of look the same. And that's an evolution of design. With the Horsch, had a little bit of a leg up, and that it was able, the Maestro was designed later than the rest of the planters. So there was a learning that took place there. There was some competitive advantage there. We were able to look at what, 20, 30 years later in design, saying in the market, hey, what do these planters need to be able to do? Where is the planting going? And what do we truly want to be able to do with them? Where do we need to place that priority? And that's why you see things like large carrying capacity, robust chassis, big tires to carry the load, and a true weight transfer system to get that weight back on the bar where it needs to be. Those are really the core competencies, the magic of this machine, and that is being able to put enough load on the chassis to go further in between fills, but carrying that load correctly, carrying it right, and putting the weight back there where we can use it, bridging it between the tractor and the tool bar, eliminating any type of compaction against those. That's really the evolution of this design. The ideas that were thought about said, hey, what do we need in the planter today? Because these were designed initially created, the design process started in the mid-2000s, 2005 to 2010. The engineers weren't beholden to an existing tool bar design. Didn't have a whole supply chain full of parts that they had to adhere to. They're able to continue to evolve and bring those ideas together for what planting needed to be then, and continues to push forward here in subsequent years. Since that time, planting has become our core competency at Horsch. Planting is the number one product line that we're focused on. Planting, seeding, crop care, and tillage in that order. Over time, customers have come to us with a variety of new ideas. They've come to us with a variety of new demands, needing to plant into different conditions, wanting to adapt to planters to plant different crops, different varieties, different seasons, different regions around the world. So we've adapted, we've made some modifications to our machines, we've evolved, through some of those different practices. New markets, new methods of planting, new tillage conditions, more and more into no-till, limited till, strip till, mulch till, those types of things. And through that evolution, we've also seen a lot of differences in the approach to fertility, the approach to planter-applied nutrients. Early in the development of maestro, we were in the era of product coming off of the planter. Everyone's going to dry planters, larger planters, full width tillage, seed only. And through the years, through the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen a little pullback or a redirection on that, a renewed interest in planter-applied nutrients. Maybe going completely the other direction was going a little bit too far. So now we're looking at planter-applied nutrients. How do we apply them? 2 by 2, 2 by 2 by 2, in furrow, relay, all sorts of different approaches and agronomic approaches to getting that done. But how do we also marry that with logistics? How do we ensure that we can do these specialized practices, specialized approaches to fertility, planter-applied fertility, but still have a vehicle that allows us to be productive and get that done at the same time? How do we get it all done in the season, in the tight windows? And maestro chassis is proven very advantageous in terms of accomplishing all of that. But going into the season here, I'm going to talk about some different agronomic principles here today. Some of them are fairly absolute, some of them are going to vary region to region, and some of you will have differences of opinion from what I'm going to present, and that's okay. Questions or anything like that? You guys want to open up a discussion? Please just raise your hand or just shout out a comment. I'd be happy to. Let's keep this lively, and if I'm the only one talking here today, it's going to be kind of boring. But as we go into the season, the things I want to get your mind thinking about, I want to get you focused on, read years. It's been a year since we planted. And now we're getting into the planting season, weather's turning nice, everybody's starting to get the itch. What are the really important things that we need to have in the back of our mind that we can focus on here throughout the season? And can't focus on them all at once, but there are some things, just some principles, kind of get your mind wrapped around, get back into that planting mode, and that's hopefully what we can kind of kickstart here today. This is, we kind of say, right in the middle of the sales pitch and the buying season. All right? You've got economists, you've got sales economists, you've got fertilizer dealers, machinery dealers trying to get a last minute deal, gadget salesmen. Is anybody out there experiencing what I call product fatigue? Is anybody looking at all the possibilities, all of the inputs that you could possibly put into this crop? And if you just go by the sales flyers, every last one of those has guaranteed ROI. And if you want more information, there's a business card stapled right there to that flyer that you can call and ask and discuss and see how somebody raised, made a couple $1 million by just investing a few bucks. Is anybody else experiencing this? Because I know on my farm, I'm kind of at the point of product fatigue. And I say, add this lotion, do this, put this dust in your planter box, buy this gadget, plant this trade stack. It's all got a fantastic ROI. I'm to the point where I'm just saying, okay, what do we really, as I was talking about margins down, what do we really truly need to focus on? Where is the best bang for our buck in this upcoming growing season? And I'm saying, number one priority is, as it always is, just good, sound agriculture. There's I think a lot of money to be made and a lot of money to be saved by just putting your farmer hat on, get your flyers and your seed digger ready to go, and focusing on the basics correctly. And with that, we can eliminate quite a bit of this noise. with all of these types of things. Another question, is your cab a little crowded? Is it setting up to be crowded? Again, it's not making noise. What are the basics out there that we really, truly need to focus on to put the foundation under this problem? With every additive thing that we can potentially put on or put into this crop, I think it really begs the question, it's 8 bushels here, 11 bushels there. Why are we not growing 1,000 bushel corn? Well, it's because there is somewhat of a lid on this, and they're really truly not additive. Many times, I'd say, watch out for this. I got to say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I'm a salesperson. Agronomy sales, gadget sales, those types of things are geared and have adapted to one approach. And I'd say that you can be thinking this way, you can maybe better identify this approach. And this approach is convince you that you have a problem. Convince you that you have an existing problem, and then backfill that with a gadget or a potion to fix that problem. That's the formula right now in a sentence. It's all agronomic based, but I would say watch out is that really truly analyze if you really have that problem on your farm, or if there's some sort of problem that you can overcome with your own know-how. That's the watch out. That's something to be cognizant of as you start putting money into this crop. So back to basics. The number one objective. What are we going to try to do when we plant this crop? The number one objective to focus on. What do you think? What's the number one thing you want to do as a result of putting seed in the ground here this spring? You want to raise a big yield, right? Yes, we're going to talk about some different metrics to get there. Emergence, inflation, blah, 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 blah. The number one thing we want to do when we insert that seed in the ground is protect the potential that's in that bag of seed. That's the number one investment. Number one thing, whether it's $350 a bag, $400 a bag, that's the first investment we make outside the land. How do we protect the potential that's in that bag? How much potential is in 80,000 kernels this year? You went by the straight up yield record, how much corn can be raised out of the 80,000 kernel bag? You might need to take a trip to the coffee pot. Yes. 608 per acre. How many acres does a bag seed? 2, yeah. So you're looking at 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 bushels can potentially come out of that one bushel bag. 80,000 seeds, 1,400 bushels. There's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of potential to protect. And the time we put that first seed in the ground, we're doing nothing but protecting it. We can't add to it. We're just protecting what we've got. So, very, very first step in protecting that potential. What are the objectives that we really need to focus on in the planting paths? Well, a couple of years ago at Horsch, we asked this question and we embarked on a multi-year study, multi-year trial. Okay? Looking at what we can control in the planting paths, whether that's depth, whether that's spacing, whether it's down pressure. What is the number one factor that really truly drives yield? What we set out to find. So we did this, we set this up, replicated it, several different reps, several different plots, set planters up correctly, set planters up poorly, by the book, I guess you could say. Good spacing, bad spacing, excessive down pressure, light down pressure, automated down pressure. We'll try to encompass and isolate as many different variables through these trials as we could. So if you look here, this is a little bit difficult to see. If you come right down the row here, these cut stalks. You can see you've got a stalk here and a stalk here. And then you got one way over here. If you're looking at those three as a sample, behind your corn planter, you'd be pleased with that spacing. That spacing that you're going to go to the coffee shop and tell everybody to drive by and take a look. No, I mean, just looking at it on the screen here, no, you got two that are way too close together. There it is. You got two that are way too close together, and then one, a big space here. These two plants, like they probably loved it, they had plenty of space. Plenty of space, plenty of elbow room. This one and this one on this side were not that happy. They were way too close together. But if you look at the corresponding ear, it really didn't seem to make much difference. Coming down through here, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That spacing you can take, right? It's pretty good. Go to the coffee shop and say, hey, go look at that picket fence out there at the Meyer place. Absolutely. As you see in through there, we have some ear-to-ear variation. There is some ear-to-ear variation that's going to cause yield variation. What's driving that? Well, what we found is, as a result of different down pressures, we have some ear variation. What does down pressure affect? Emergence. Down pressure affects emergence. It affects planting depth, it affects depth consistency. Ultimately, it affects that environment that we're placing that seed. We're compacted, or too loose, we have an air pocket. All of that is driven off of down pressure. Emergence and uniform emergence. Surface, just as it has in many other industry trials, surface has the main contributor, the main driver to yield. What can we do to ensure that our plants get out of the ground in as uniform of a fashion as they possibly can? The number one thing you can do on your planters is ensure that you're planting at proper depth, that your down pressure is set right to maintain that uniformity of depth and that seed trench environment. That's the number one thing. We have a uniform stand, we can control that depth, we can now set ourselves up for high yield potential going forward. In your environment, what is that target depth? What is the depth that you shoot for when you're planting your corn? Question. Region to region, this varies a little bit. What is your go-to back of the envelope, old faithful planting depth?
2.5 inches.
2.5 inches? I can take that any day of the week. 2 inches, straight up 2. Do not take this as gospel. I can't stress that enough. The number that you see here is not nearly as important as the asterisk below it. All right? Across the corn belt, the old faithful planting depth, just a good standby rule of thumb, agronomic principle, 2 inches. Work with your agronomist to establish your correct planting depth relative to your soils, relative to your tillage, relative to your environment, your agronomic type, your agronomic system. But I'm going to say, for the most part, I want to be at least 2 inches. I get pretty nervous when I'm seeing corn shallow at 2 inches. If you have smart people that you're working with that are telling you, I think you need to be an inch and a quarter, an inch and 3/4 on this variety, or your moisture profile looks like, I think, by all means, I'm not going to trump them. I'm not going to say they're wrong. They probably have some seed information or some little microclimate soil information that I don't have. For me, I want it at least 2 inches, but the caveats on that are into good moisture. And Ray, yes, I'd probably rather be at 2.5 than 1.5 inches every day of the week. I'm a fan of a little bit deeper, A smudge deeper is better than a smudge shallow. Always on the corn. But your soil types, your seeds, your environments, your farm. You guys work with the smart people on your teams to make that call. So we plant them all at the right depth. We get them consistent. Now, we're hoping Mother Nature gives us spray. No big pounding rains. Nice, warm, uniform climate, uniform environment for those seeds to germinate uniform and all come out of the ground. How fast do we want those seeds out of the ground? Let me rephrase that. How close relative to one another do we want those seeds out of the ground? You got it. If we can get the majority of that bell curve out of the ground inside of a 24-hour window, we know we've got a good thing going. 24 hours we need the bell curve. Now, commercial environment, those are out of the ground inside of 48 hours. I'm still pretty darn excited about it. Realistic. Don't re-hook up a field cultivator and tear up your crop because they're not out of the ground 24 hours within first to last. If you're out of the ground inside of 2 days, first to last, you've got a pretty good thing going on. I'm saying you should be very, very simple. There's a reason to continue to invest in this crop. You have a lot of staggered emergence, sporadic over 5-7 days, late emergers popping up. I can't give up on the crop. But it may field to field, that may start to dictate some of your management practices, some of the further investment and money spent on down the line through the growing season. Why is it important to get these out of the ground at the same time? What is that uniform emergence doing for us? The number one thing it's doing is plant-to-plant competition. Just uniformity of final ear size, plant-to-plant competition, everything active right at the same or even growing stage for further growth stages, further maturity stages on down the growing season. So that's number one, plant to plant. Nobody has an advantage one versus the other. But when we start to talk about things like timed fertilizer applications, foliars, fungicides, things that are very growth stage specific, if I'm going to invest in a B5 foliar, those plants need to be in that stage, B4 to B6, for that application to give me the best chance of getting my money back or increasing my yield as a result of it. If those plants don't come out of the ground at the same time, they're not going to be at the proper, they're not all going to be at the proper growth stage in the timing of that application. That potentially erodes what I can expect as an ROI or result, economic result to yield out of that application. Does that make sense? Time them up correctly, get them out of the ground. That makes foliar applications, fungicide applications, even up to and including harvest moisture, consistent throughout the growing season. Gives us the best chance to recover those input dollars for those further passes that we're going to make. So, talked about getting them out of the ground, uniform emergence. Number one, absolutely. Spacing, I'm not going to hedge against it. I will take a picket fence stand. Absolutely. I'm not going to do anything to work against it. It's going to be a number two priority. When it comes to singulation, there are 3 crops in the world that respond to singulation. The reason for that is the rest of the crops out there have the ability to compensate. You look at corn, you look at sugar beets, you look at sunflowers, those 3 crops do not have the ability to compensate relative to their neighbors. I'm not saying singulation is bad or unnecessary in crops. I'll be the first to admit, simulated soybeans are beautiful. It's just not a main driver. Things like depth, furrow integrity, uniform seed placement, uniform seeding environment, absolutely is a driver to yield. But straight up simulation in soybean is not. There is a lot of reason, however, to simulate outside of just the agronomic yield, just outside of yield potential. The main reason to simulate or to count out is seed placement. There's crops out here, everything has gone up. We have big time seed costs and big time investments that we're looking at. The seed, just because we don't have to simulate the seed, does not mean we want to waste it. The best way to count it out is to simulate it. I just came back from Canada. Those guys, I think there's one crop out there, canola, that is notoriously high price for seed. If you think $350 a bag, corn is expensive, yes, we've got $80, $90 bags of soybeans out there right now. Once they're fully treated, it seems ridiculous. 10 years ago, that was probably $50 or $60 bag. So yeah, it's painful. I get it. If you really want to hear some soft stories around seed costs, go talk to anybody that's raising canola. Canola is a beautiful crop. They raise a lot of it in Canada. There is a glimmer of hope for the soybean market this year. That if I can offer one glimmer of hope for the soybean market, it's that everybody in Canada is running away from canola as fast as they can. The economics for canola this year is terrible. That will make a little bit of a hole in the oilseed complex. So give up on your soybeans. Treat them like the good crop that they are, because canola, there may be a little back for oil coming out of the north with the lack of canola acres that are going in there. They're really down and out about canola. The economics are terrible. But one driver of that is seed costs. Anybody have any ideas? Is anybody familiar with what canola is? Little black weather seeds, they're tiny. Any idea what a pound of that stuff costs? You do get a lot of seeds per pound, no doubt about it. No doubt, there's a lot of seeds there. No, you don't. You buy it by the, I think they buy canola by about 600,000 seeds or something like that. Pound of canola seeds. Any guesses as to what there's a donut and a cup of coffee in fact to get this one right? Any idea what a pound of canola seed costs? Second question, because both of these going to pop. What's it going to cost you to put that acre of corn in this year? 120, 125, 130 bucks, depending on your population, just in seed costs. Canola costs $15 to $20 a pound. That 50-pound bag of seeds is $1,000. You don't want to spill it. If something goes wrong with the meter, the lid comes open, the door comes open, things start spilling out, you don't catch it until you run out one of these big tanks and you're planting canola. It's a real bad thing. It's a real bad thing. All right, everybody's got a cell phone in their pocket. It's time to go back to math class here. Do a little story problem. All right. Your machine was not set up well, and/or you were in a hurry to get to the field. You went back and dug the trench. There were beans there. You said, "Okay, good. We're planting. Let's go." Neighbors are going. Dust is stirring. We don't got time to set this machine up. Let's go. All right. You had a target rate. You're trying to get 125,000 soybeans out there. By the time you planted 2 boxes, you planted 3 boxes. Did the math as to how much were in the boxes, how many acres you got done. You found out you actually seeded at 152,000. Right? This is usually a problem with the drill and so planter. Drills need to be set up and calibrated very, very well themselves. All right, your seed cost was $80 for 140,000. How much did this area cost you? Per acre? Who's got an answer? Yes, sir. $50. That's not a major screw up. You wanted to have 125,000 out there, you actually put 152,000. It's nothing that's going to be economically detrimental to your crop. It's probably nothing that's going to send you back to the banker, maybe for an extension either, but it's sure nothing. Right? Something you're going to probably run home and brag about, and it's going to make you mad. Again, do 1,000 acres that way, just set it and forget it. Hopefully you caught this within the first box or two to see. It says 1,000 acres that way is 15 grand. Little things, little attention to detail, that become costly over time. So, as we are focused on the planting season and looking at with the planter pass, what's impactful? What can we control, and what impact does it truly have to our yield? Uniform emergence drives the train here. That can have a 5 to 10% impact on your yield, just how we get those plants out of the ground. Right? Planting at the right time, that really means planting the correct date for the growing season into the right conditions. Those two are very, very closely linked. If I plant in the right conditions, I have a much better chance of getting uniform emergence and getting them out of the ground in a correct fashion, opposed to in a tight group. Those two things very, very tightly linked. There's 15% planting at the right time and getting out of the ground in a tight group. Correct population, our planters are good. We've got to get the correct, if you pay attention to what's going on your screen, the machine's going to spit out the correct population. No matter what color the planter is. That's a completely colorblind deal. Everybody's planter is good. We get the correct population. Ideal spacing, certainly not going to work against it. You're dealing with a smaller method there. 1 to 2%. We're not going to hedge against it. We want that big fence. We want it to look perfectly spaced. But in terms of yield contributors, here's the big one to focus on. Get across the field when it's fit at the right time. And there's a lot that goes into that. Ensuring you're ready to go, ensuring the machine's ready to go. Having a good seed bed, good environment, good temperatures, being productive, making hay when the sun shines, and then getting those out of the ground, making sure we're protecting that furrow, protecting that integrity. That's the big bucket. Plant it at the right time, into the right conditions, get them out of the ground. I'm a little ahead of myself there. That's all what we just talked about. So, again, we've talked about how does the Horsch planter help you do that. Biggest contributor, put enough product on to make use out of your fill, get further in between your stops, simplify your logistics. That's a big part of productivity. We talk a lot about high-speed planting. There's also what I call highly productive planting. Sometimes the speed in which we get across the field, or the speed in which we make a pass, has nothing to do with how productive we can be throughout the day. We'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of being prepared in your logistics. But in terms of maintaining that uniform seeding environment, putting the weight where it needs to be. Put enough on here to get something done. Put the weight back to the toolbar and get it off the wheels where it needs to be. All right, so we've talked a lot about the importance of proper downforce, the importance of that seat environment. How do we actually achieve it? How do we get there? How do we set the planner up for proper downforce? Downforce is one of those things that's kind of a moving target. It's a moving target, it's something we talk about an awful lot, but it's always in the back of your mind, there's always that question, am I doing this right? Do I have the right amount of downforce for my conditions? Because every year's different. Every year's different. Every year we're setting downforce systems up a little bit different. And it's a Goldilocks thing. It can't be too hard, it can't be too soft, it needs to be just right. We don't want it too hot, we don't want it too cold, we want it just right all the time. And just right is different year in, year out. One year's dry and hard, the next year's cold and wet. This changes. Our downforce settings and the conditions that we set our downforce for is dependent on several different factors. What's my field prep like? How much residue do I have? Do I have a road cleaner? What kind of weight do I have on my road unit itself? Do I have a road cleaner on there, adding weight? Do I have a road cleaner potentially working against me with my downforce? All of these things are factors, contributors that may alter your downforce setting relative to your neighbor's farm, your neighbor's field practices, your neighbor's tillage, your neighbor's way your neighbor's planner is set up. Do you have a box planner? As the seed quantity changes in that box planner, your downforce setting is going to change as well. So, best practices and things to watch out for to ensure that you have your downforce set correctly. If you are ideal conditions, you can all imagine what those ideal conditions are going to be here about the 22nd day of April, hopefully. Things are dry, dig down an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches. We've got good moisture to plant into, but on top, dust is rolling, things are dry, and everything's working just as it should. In those ideal conditions, planting in the moisture, there's nothing sticking to my gauge wheels. I'm closing the furrow nicely, and when I get back there and dig down, I see no remnants of my sidewall. At my desired planting depth, 2¼ to 3/8 inches, I see a nice seed tucked firmly in the bottom of what was my trench. That's an ideal condition. That says you've got things set up perfectly. Sometimes we don't see those perfect conditions, right? In no-till conditions, things like that, it may almost be impossible to fully remove, say, the remnants of your sidewall. You know, you're digging that trench and you may see some chunks of the sidewall still in there, but that seed is down there where you want it to be. Usually. Ideal is going to look a little different materials, right? We get too wet, things start to stick. Probably the best indicator right out there. You get build up on your gauge wheels. It's probably pretty. You need to ask yourself, am I doing this just to do it, or am I really truly be out here? There's sometimes when you just need to be there. I'll give it to you. Ask you, but really, I mean, if it's the 22nd of April, you got mud on your gauge wheels, you probably don't need it. And where you're at, the 22nd of May, and how much runway you got ahead of you, maybe you do. That's your call, for your farm, for your workload, what you got to do. But things are sticky, blades aren't running clean, things are closing up fly. One, you might be in a position where you need to make that planter dance a little bit more, lighten up your down pressure, lighten things up, double check, triple check, ensure that you're maintaining your seating depth, and more times than not, shut it down, wait for a better day. But the best thing you can do to check your down pressure is to get out of the cab and dig. One easy test for checking your down pressure, I can tell you this is the first test. This is the preliminary test. Do not rely on this. This is the preliminary test. Stop your planter in the ground. Driving across, don't do this on the headlands. You can do it on the headlands or on the end roads just to check. Making a real pass across the field, bring everything to a stop, planter in the ground. Do everything right. Hydraulics live, down pressure circuits live, everything. Keep everything weighted in the ground as it should be. Get out of the cab, walk around the planter, kick your gauge wheel. This is the first test, kick your gauge wheel. That gauge wheel should turn, but it should turn hard. These have enough weight on it. If it turns, it does not turn freely. You should be able to kick it. It should move, it should budge, it should turn hard. If it doesn't move at all, chances are you have too much down pressure. If it spins freely, you don't have enough. That's the first litmus test, number one. That is just an indicator. All right? It's a good indicator, but don't rely on the whole. Second thing you're going to do is get down and dig that seed trench. Let the seed trench, let your seeding depth and that furrow and the results of digging that furrow truly tell you if you're getting done what you want to do. That's the gold standard. That's what needs to be done. Take the time to dig and dig a couple times across the field. Yes?
Looking at the pictures, what is the best way to dig to see that unit 4 around the seed coming from the top of the pile with that inches deep?
Yep. So there's some debate around that one. That's putty knife or paint scraper, whatever you call it. This has become this has become the new standard. And who's got one? Where's one of those? Chris, you got one of those laser cut things? Yeah, one of those. Take the ruler into that. That can also be a seed digger. All right. The age-old practice here is to get your pliers out, dig straight down the trench until you start finding the seed. Take your pliers, come over your pliers in, and dig the next seed. You really want to see what's happening with your furrow, with your sidewall, with your furrow closure. Take this into this, take your paint scraper, your putty knife, actually expose the cross section of the seed trench. Expose it, you might have to dig, foot 18 inches to where you can start to make a clean slice and really truly see the cross section of that seed trench. Does that make sense? See what's going on. Get to this view right here. You're probably going to have to dig out a foot 18 inches to be able to get your head down there to where you can actually see what's going on at the bottom of that trench. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating than planting time and trying to stand on your head and read and take and understand if you're 2 1/4 or 2 3 inches, right? And then you're calling the ground level and trying to figure out where is the ground level and really truly how deep am I? If you get an area exposed to where you can see the cross section of that trench, that gives you a very good idea of what your true seeding environment really is. It exposes things like air pockets. In a perfect world, this void right here, it doesn't exist. All we see is that little seed sticking out with dirt closed in above it. As you prepare your seed bed, keep in mind what that corn seed wants to experience. Talk about seed bed preparation, reconsolidation. From the point of planting, from the depth of planting, and that radical root comes out. Here's what that corn wants to find to be happy. As it sends out that radical, it wants to see a constant increase in pressure as it goes down. So if you work the ground 4 inches deep and you're planting in 2 inches, you have a density change where the density gets lighter, it's more porous, underneath your planting zone. There could be problems. That root wants to see a constant increase, a constant resistance as it goes. Does that make sense? When you're talking about setting your seed bed, reconsolidation, those types of things, that root constantly wants, for every little inch that root grows, it wants to be feeling more pressure as it goes.
How about when you stop the fire? What do you do?
That's a great way to see what your true seeding depth is. Yes. Absolutely. When you do that, you call it kill stop. When you just do the sudden stop with your planter, and you can see the trench between your openers and your closing wheels. Is that a good indicator of your seeding depth, seeing what your trench looks like? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's also a good way in that foot, 18 inches, you can see your spacing, you can see exactly what happened there. You bet. Great way to check your depth. Great way to see what kind of furrow you're actually creating. What you won't see is how you're closing it up. How you're closing it up, what kind of air pockets, anything like that. Any errors or sins that you may be having when you close that furrow up. Do that in. Closing. Drag chains behind the planter. You guys, I'm not going to tell you to promote any type of closing wheels, but the best closing wheels, the best closing system is what works best on your farm, your soils, and your tillage practices. Absolutely. If you got a closing system that works for you, you can stick with it. Just make sure you're getting that seed closed properly. That trench closed and that seed bedded in there properly. Whatever works best for you. Chains on the back of the planter, they can be a real pain, but they also can get you out of a lot of trouble. They can really save you from that. I've fought them for several years. They stumble over them, they bite you in the back of the ankle. It can be a pain, but they're back there and they do a lot of good. You're going. Be an easy way to cover up a lot of your sins. So, our planters, depending on any planters of many different colors, have automated downforce systems. Automated downforce systems are reactive systems that sense the weight at the gauge wheel and make hydraulic adjustments. All very, very good systems. Chris is going to talk at length about setting these systems up. It's another tool in your toolbox to ensure the planter's doing what it needs to do and reacting to those changes, those conditions as you go across the field. Chris will talk a lot more about this, talk about how we set the different sections up in the hydraulic downforce system, what those different sections are doing, and what they're compensating for. Ultimately, this is what we're trying to do. We have the correct down pressure setting, the correct seed environment. We don't have anything too compacted. We can ensure proper plant growth, proper root development throughout the rest of the growing season. Too much downforce, planting in the right conditions, compacting that root zone, compacting that seed trench, restricts root development, restricts subsequent plant development, restricts yield potential. Do that just right, we've got given ourselves the best chance to be off the races. Focus on one thing, focus on getting the trench right, focus on getting things closed, and getting that seating environment correct. Just more data on the that bell curve, getting the plants out of the ground in a uniform fashion. Stuff from Kruger seed. Day one, we're doing pretty good. Everything comes out of the ground day one, nice and even. Day three, we start to see some more variation, and by day five, it's strictly just a weed we cannot kill. It's got the same herbicide traits as everything else back there, and we don't have a smart weeder developed yet to be able to eyeball that later merger and pick it out as a road. That may come someday. Someday we may get there, we're not there yet. Yeah. Whatever your seed digger of choice is, pocket knife, fancy gadget, Horsch branded seed digger, it is the most important thing that you will employ this season. Get out there, get the knees in your pants dirty, dig regularly, dig off, and validate your machine's doing what it's supposed to do. Dig and validate. That's the best money you can spend. Above and beyond any potion, any planter box treatment, any gadget, the best money you can spend is the time to validate what you're doing it right. So, Chris is going to take it over here real shortly on dialing in your planter. Right? Your planter is planter's the quarterback of your operation. Right? It's the thing we all focus on. We want to focus on it. It's really the star of the show. It's called planting, planter. It gets all of the attention. Getting things done, though, there's a whole lot more to the story than just dialing in the planter. Chris is going to talk about dialing in this planter. I'm just going to give you some reminders here and some ideas about other things you can do above and beyond your planter, things to focus on. Not trying to stir up too much anxiety here in the next couple of weeks, but all the rest of the things that we have to focus on that can potentially set you back and or put you ahead if you do. Anybody recognize this familiar cast of characters? It's a lot more fun to work on your planter and to get it really tricked out and dialed in than it is to worry about all the rest of this stuff. But on that very first nice day, when the planter's ready to go and you're ready to go, oh yeah, get that tender out. And then get the tender out, put the boxes on it, everything's good, and you find out, well, one of those tires that didn't look flat when it wasn't loaded is now flat. So we either pump it up or we fix it. Probably just pump it up because we're in too big a hurry to take it to the tire shop. Fix it, just pump it up. Alright, then we start it up, little Honda motor chugs a little bit, and the bird's in it, got it right up there in the planter, ready to dump 50 bushels of seed, 50 units of seed, right in the wall-filled planter, chug, chug, chug. First comes out a little bit of rotten seed. Last year, the next comes out 3 birds' nests, but before we can catch them or get them out of there, those 3 birds' nests found their way all the way down to the bottom of the seed. They end up right down here in the sun. Now you've got 20 bags of seed on top. Right? Birds' nests. Has anybody ever fought a reed? All right, oh yeah, come on. First day of spraying season, let's go. Come on, we got the chemicals loaded, let's go, let's get out there. Fire up the pump. Put your big old bear paw on that and roll, brakes, right there. First day. Check this stuff out. Take some of those rainy, I'm going to say this, between now and planting, we're we're going to have some pretty crummy rain days. I should have. We're going to have some crummy rainy days, and you're going to be tired of looking at your planners in the shop. You're going to be tired of looking at it. All you're going to do on these crummy rainy days, hopefully it's Thursday or Friday, you're going to want to watch basketball, you're going to drink coffee, until the point where you start to drink beer, but you're going to want to drink coffee, watch basketball, and I'm tired of working on that plan. Those are the good days. Focus on the old ton Chevy. It's got inside the wheels flat. If you're really not in the mood, if it's really a rainy and crappy day, gather up all your gas cans and go fill them up with alcohol-free gas. Fill all your little motors up. Little hitches that have to be done that often get forgotten about. Another pro tip, use a nice day like today to go around to all your little outlier sheds and consolidate this type of equipment, because if you want to go grab this equipment, chances are it's raining 2 inches and those sheds, those approaches, and those driveways are muddy, and so then that just kind of becomes a problem. You don't hold them out because you're going to drag them through mud. Use the nice days to put all this stuff in a pile, and then on bad days, it's surface. All right. Looks like actually could have set up this prop any better. Thanks, Chris. You guys have seen these types of toolboxes, this overpriced Tupperware. You know, there's several different brands of this type of stuff. You can get it at any store. Everybody's knocked everybody off. You're going to go in and walk your back out or like stocks. It's heavy duty plastic and overpriced Tupperware. Go buy yourself some overpriced Tupperware and maybe plant your kit. This kit is going to be specific to your farm. The great thing about these kits are they kind of lock. So when they fall off the flatbed, it's okay. You're probably not going to spill. They're also, they got handles on them. You can easily transfer them from a gator to pick up. They're mobile. And deck them out. Make your own list, but deck them out with the things that your planter will need that will cost you time during the season. Alright? If you can just fix this on the edge of the field or have the gator buzz out to the planter and fix it right there on site, you don't have to deadhead. Think about the time savings there. You don't have to pick up, deadhead back to the field entrance, get out, wrench it off, take it back to the shop. You can just pick the planter up and have the gator buzz out to you. Cordless impacts have done wonders in terms of mid-pass fixes. Alright? Set this thing up with things that your planter's going to need. Start thinking about, hey, what are the common offenders? Bearings, obviously bearings of all varieties, gauge wheel bearings, over bearings, closing wheel bearings. Put an O-ring kit in there. But make sure it's the correct O-ring kit. You need metric bites on O-rings, and that face seal O-ring kit is going to do you good. Nor is that SAE O-ring kit from Marmol. Talk to your implement suppliers, talk to these guys here at Drago, and you have to get the right O-ring kit in there. That's a big one, particularly as everything has more valve locks on it, hydraulic down pressure systems. These things work at high pressures, and O-rings have a useful life. There is nothing more frustrating. This goes for a lot of these things on here, but you've got big time money in your planning and your planter setup. There's nothing more frustrating than a 5-cent part shutting down $1 million rig. Imagine, have this stuff on hand and be ready to go. Seals for liquid pump, downforce sensors, drive motors, modules, common hardware, and sampling pliers. You guys kind of know, you've been around your machines, you know the list of habitual offenders just need to have on hand. My experience is the more you have this stuff on hand, and a handy little thing like this, sitting in the back of your gator, the more of this stuff you invest in, and the more ready you are for it to happen, the less it's going to happen. So if you're willing to take out that insurance policy, you buy yourself into a lot less fixes if you just have this stuff on hand. Hopefully, if you have by having this O-ring kit on hand, hopefully it sits in that toolbox and dries over the next couple of years. Hopefully you don't have to use it. But with all of that, it says you guys have invested in a fantastic piece of equipment, a Horsch planter. Go to the field with confidence. These machines are set up to do your job on your farm, establish your crop right. You've invested in that. You've had the foresight to put one of those into service. You've got competitive advantages sitting right there behind the tractor. And I guess please have a safe and productive season. Go out there with confidence and establish this crop. With that, turn it over to Chris.
So let's take a 10-minute break. You guys can stretch your legs. Everyone else is sleepy. And then set that loose and come up and do about 15 minutes on. And then we'll go back. So yeah, you guys just want to take a 10-minute break. Let's go back.